This episode of the Capsule in Conversation is brought to you by Harrogate Springwater. Harrogate is the home of the British Spa and Britain's premium natural source water. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Capsule in Conversation. I'm Natalie Anderson and today I'm joined by singer, songwriter, presenter and 1/5 of the Saturdays, Una Healy, to talk flying solo, fighting back and being fierce at 40. So sit back, relax and get ready to join in with our conversation. Hello all, I hope you're all well and are enjoying a very lovely Easter. Can you believe we're here already? I've got a lady on my street who's still got her Christmas decorations up. It seems like 2 minutes ago since we were singing Auld Lang Syne and getting ready to enter the promised land of a freer 2021. And here we are, still locked down, and chocolate for breakfast has become the norm as opposed to a treat for the holidays. Still, we all love a visit from the Easter Bunny, and today he's brought me a very special guest alongside my mini eggs. She's a singer, acclaimed songwriter, presenter, judge of The Voice Island, alongside being one of the 5 gorgeous ladies that make up one of our favourite girl bands, the Saturdays. It is the multi-talented and super fabulous Una Healy. Hi, Una.
Hi, Natalie. That is so nice. Oh, you've really teed me up so nice there. Thank you.
Oh, no, I was like, oh my God, all these amazing things that we will get into, and thank you so much for being with me today. It's so lovely to have you.
Oh, so lovely to speak to you and to see you, and not in reality, but, it's nice to just be chatting again. It's lovely.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, and it is Easter Sunday today. Now, are you a person that likes to do all of the traditional things like chocolate for breakfast, Easter egg hunts and bonnet making, or can you just sing, I can't be bothered?
Oh, not the bonnet making now. I don't know if I've ever done that. But yeah, Easter egg hunts, we always do one of them in the garden. And yeah, just they're kind of like, it's just all about eating loads of chocolate, isn't it, really? I remember as a child myself, it was just like, how many eggs can we actually have? And I remember, I think I had about 10 eggs and I eaten most of them in one day. It's disgusting, really, when you think about it, But
and you go to school.
Overindulging.
I know you go to school, don't you? Go, how many eggs did you get? How many did you get? And it was like always a bit of a competition. Well, I had this one, and you'd kind of just say, I had 16 eggs.
Yeah, and how big they were as well. Because I remember when I was younger as well, I could always wanted to get a big egg, but yeah, it's just probably too much chocolate, but it's great. It's just nice, something to look forward to. It's more kind of like a celebration of spring and about new beginnings, and the evenings, as I say, a good old stretch in the evenings where we're kind of like seeing longer days, and just like new beginnings like that again. It's just less gloomy, it's more fun, and it's just nice.
And it has come around quickly. Now you've got 2 children, Aoife Bell and Tig.
Tig. Anyone wondering how to pronounce them, because written down phonetically they do not look like that because they're Irish names. So it's like Aoife, that's spelled Aoife, but it's Aoife. Yeah, she's Aoife Bell, and then Tig. So they're both Irish names. Yeah, beautiful names, and they're 9 and 6, aren't they? Now, do they love the sense of occasion as well? Oh, always, like anything to celebrate. Any time of year, really. The excitement of an Easter egg hunt is always one. It's really fun. Usually when the weather is nice, you can do it outside. Not a great idea to do it indoors, though, especially if you're hiding them in the corners or behind the radiator. You don't want to forget about them there. Oh no, you have to clean up the mess. That's happened before.
I'm going to say you sound like you're talking from experience there.
I just remember it mushing into the carpet but no, hopefully we'll get to do one later today outdoors.
How have the children coped during lockdown? Because can you believe it's been a year now that we've been in this situation? I mean, how has it been for you as a family?
I found the first one, I actually was talking to one of my friends about the lockdown one, and I kind of missed it a bit because it was kind of like, because it was so different and unusual, and just like you're kind of like, it just happened, didn't it? And we hadn't time to prepare or think about it, or we didn't know how long it was going to go on for, and it just was a bit of a novelty, I guess, at the time. And I enjoyed it in a way, like just bonding at home with the kids. But as time went on and on and on, I was over in the UK actually, because I've been living in the UK for 12 years. I've just moved back to Ireland, but I was on my own over there. I was there with the 2 kids, and I didn't have any family around me, so I never really got to leave the house, and it was just me and the kids. I was homeschooling on my own as well. So yeah, it got tough, but we found going for cycles. Oh, we love the old cycles in the evenings. And then I found a corner shop that, like, I didn't realize where I lived that there was this little corner shop that was open because most shops were closed. And it was the highlight of, I only let them do it like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, where we'd cycle as far as the shop and go into the shop and get some sweets and come back again. And it was like the highlight of the day, and just simple little things like that. And I have fond memories of that time as well, of just being the three of us. And it kind of like, for me as well, as a single parent as well, I think it kind of really solidified our union as a little trio, you know. And I was like, and it was, you know, I have to say it was lovely. It was tough. Now, this is why I came home though, because I do need the support, like, because I am a working mother as well. And as all working mums need the help and support so that they can go and do their thing, you know. So my mum is very hands-on, and she helps with the kids and stuff. So I'm very blessed.
I was just about to say that, like, I can't even believe you did that all by yourself. I homeschooled with one child and my husband, and it was so bloody hard. And the fact that you did that whole chunk alone, I mean, my God, you're amazing. Like, literally just amazing.
I was just lucky as well that they get on so well that, you know, I was doing my radio show, Country Hits Radio as well. I've been doing that for a year at home as well. And they're very good like that. I'll be saying, right, I'm going in now, you have to be very quiet because this is a radio show, you know, you can't be like screaming and shouting in the background or fighting. So they're so good that they really respect that, and they're just very well behaved, and they understand what I do, and they know they have to be quiet when I'm recording and stuff like that.
I mean, that is amazing though, you know, because it is a stress, isn't it? And like, when you're trying to be, I think for all working mums, you know, you're trying to be an amazing mum, and you're trying to do your job, and you're constantly being split in half, and it's so hard to do both equally well. And you do get that guilt sometimes where you're like, I want to do this, but I've got to do this because that enables me for you to have a better life to do this. It's so hard, isn't it?
It's just a real paternal thing, I think. And, you know, as for a woman, you call it maternal thing. You just want to be, you know, number one job in the world when your mum is being a mum, you know. But when you are working, like, you know, you're out there to provide for them, so you're doing your thing for them, but you at the same time you miss them. I always do. Like, when I'm away for a couple of days or that, like, I'll just be thinking about them all the time. But, you know, the funny thing about that, and you should say as well about being a mum, is like, you know, the dads never really get asked about that, you know, going like, how do you know, if they're in an interview or anything like about work, and they've got kids or whatever, they never really get asked like, so how do you manage, you know, doing what you do and having kids? It's like they just don't get asked. But I found and I always find as a mum, like, I get asked and questioned about how do I do it kind of thing all the time, but it's like, you just do it, because that's just, you know, it's what we do, and you find ways around it, because the kids aren't gonna look after themselves, so you just have to always call on support and help and childcare and all that kind of thing, in order to do it. But I've always worked, even while I was pregnant, and just all the time, and that's you know what I want to do, and I also just to hopefully be a good role model to my children as well, that, you know, that they need to go out there and work hard in life. You know,
and I think that's so true, because like, my mum was a single parent, and she had me very, very young, and it was just me and her forever. It felt like forever anyway. And I had such respect for my mum, and do now, even now. And for Fred, I kind of wanted him to see that same thing. I wanted him to realize that, you know, you have to kind of, if you want anything in life, you have to go out and work for it. Do you know what I mean? And he's had a totally different childhood to me. Like, we really struggled, me and my mum. And so even though Freddie's not in that same position, I still kind of want a bit of struggle for him, because I think that's how kids learn, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. You know, we all just look, everyone's situation is so different, but everyone's just doing their best and the best that they can, you know, and just once the kids are happy and loved and supported and everything like that, like, I just, you know, nothing else matters to me than just to know that my children are happy, and, you know, moving back here for me was part of that too, because they just love having granny and granddad around too. They're so close to them. I'm very close to my parents as well, so it's definitely the right place, it's the right decision. But, you know, it's just very uncertain times, you know, you just don't know what's around the corner, so you just have to take it one day at a time.
Absolutely. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this chat, you're a lady of many, many talents. Singer, songwriter, presenter, judge, designer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But your first kind of, shall we say, semi-professional, you know, kind of career was in swimming. I mean, you were the All-Ireland champion at 9. So just tell me about that.
Yeah, I was a swimmer, first starting out in life, you know, of a competitive swimmer. I swam representing my county, and Munster, which is our province, and like I was the best youngster at the time in my province, and I won the All Ireland. So I worked very hard at that too. Now that was something that required a lot of time and effort, and my mum was so amazing with me with that too. She used to come along and watch me train and come to all my galas. My dad as well. My sister used to swim and she used to run. We used to do a lot of running and swimming, but the swimming for me was my number one. But yeah, with that, I was swimming every day. And I always I knew I was so determined, like when I was really little, to win that All Ireland gold. And I was only 9 like when I won it, but like yeah, it really stood to me, I think, in life, to just really, like, I aimed so high. It's like I want to be the fastest in Ireland. So when I achieved that, I was so delighted. But it was tough to compete with the other clubs around the country, because I came from quite a small town and there was no club actually after 8. I was training myself. And that was hard to compete with clubs that were training twice a day and had, really intense sessions. So I kind of like gave it up really and focused then on music after that. So my first love was swimming.
And what was it about the swimming that you loved? What was it about that?
I don't know. I'll tell you what it was. I was 6 and no, actually, when I was 4, I nearly drowned in the pool because I ran in without my armbands on, and the lifeguard had to pull me out, but it didn't put me off. I think it just made me all the more determined. Little things like that can kind of either put you off or make you go, do you know what, I'm going to jump in that deep end next week without my armbands, and I did. But I was 6 and I was at home, and I'm that type, I get bored really easily. So I can't just sit down, and even if I'm watching a film, I'm thinking of a million things at the same time. So I was annoying my mother so much, going, I'm bored. Oh, and she was just like, what am I going to do with her? So she saw an advert in the paper about like the swimming club was looking for children. I think they were only looking for them from the age of 8, but I was only 6. But she sent me down anyway, and I was naturally quite good once I learned how to swim and without the armbands. I was doing the 2 widths of the pool, and I remember doing like every stroke, the tumble turns, the dives, the butterfly, everything from at the age of 6, and they just noticed. They were like, she's actually exceptionally good at this. So I just loved it. I was like a little fish. I don't know why it didn't come from, it wasn't in the family around. We didn't know swimmers in the past. I just loved it. You
just felt free in the water.
Yeah, and I still love it. Like, I just love getting into the water. And yeah, I miss the pool now. That's one of the lockdown things I miss.
Yeah, I bet, if that's become part of like your routine since being a young girl, then yeah, it's like that's kind of what isn't it? And like what you've grown with. But as you said then, you kind of quit swimming in your early teens and then moved into music. Now, you taught yourself to play guitar, but it was your mum's guitar. So were you a musical family anyway?
Yeah, my mum used to play, actually. Well, my uncle is a very well-known country and Irish singer. His name is Declan Nerney, and yeah, everyone in Ireland that knows a bit about country music will know him. So I was grew up around that, and then my mum, because she used to sing it as well when she was a student nurse. She was in a little band called the Saints. They used to play semi-professionally. So she had a gorgeous Martin guitar that she got in the 70s over in New York, and she handed it to me when I was 12, and she just taught me a couple of chords. And then they went to a funeral, I think, one day. And then my grandfather passed away when I was 12. And I just started playing the chords, and the song came into my head. It was called I Miss You. And my first song I wrote was 12 on the guitar for my grandfather that died. And then I just kept playing, kept writing. And, everyone in school knew that I wanted to do that. They were like, yeah, you so want to be a singer. I was like, I know, yeah. And they were get called up to do all the open days and perform. And then for my exams as well, I used to perform my own original compositions as well. And I kind of knew eventually it was what I was going to do. So in school, I studied very hard as well, because I felt, I know how fickle the music industry is, especially with my uncle. He had grafted for so many years as well and found it tough, but he got there in the end. But I knew it wasn't going to come easy. So I said, well, I need to find something to fall back on. So I did try a couple of things in university, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to drop out. I'm not saying just because I did, do that and then go and do what you want. No, always try and find something that you'll enjoy. That's the best advice, and try and stick it out. But I couldn't get the music out of my head.
I mean, I was very similar in that sense. Like I wanted to perform from being really young, and my granddad always said to me, but you need to get an education, because, there's thousands of girls just like you. And I remember his words so clear, and I worked really hard in school the same. And like you've just said then, I've now kind of put two and two together, because you actually looked into nursing and primary school teaching. But as you just said then, your mum was in nursing as well. So
Yeah.
is that kind of why you pursued that route?
Yeah, like they're both vocations, I guess, as well. Like you really you have to invest your whole self into them. And when you have something else in the back of your head, it's hard to really dedicate your full self and mind and everything into it. So my mum was a nurse, yeah. And she always went on about the good old days and being a student nurse and the crack they had and all that. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do too, you know. But no, it wasn't for me. Primary teaching, I think the reason somebody mentioned it would be good for me because of the music, actually. They're like, yeah, you know, it's not a lot of primary teachers. It's important to, like, you know, nurture the music in them, and you know, you'd have that and also the sport. So, and I like kids too. So I thought that I thought it would suit me, but again, the music was knocking on the door. I was like, oh, I couldn't put it out. It's like I can't dedicate myself to doing this important job when I'm focused on something else. So I just said to myself, I'm just going to go for this music, you know, give it a proper go, you know, and dedicate my time to just it. And if it doesn't work, I'll then try and find something else to fall back on, you know.
I mean, and like you were at your early 20s at that point, you know, and it was kind of like mid 2000s. And tell me about those early days if you've made that decision and you're like, right, this is what I'm going to go for. And yeah, those early couple of years of going out there, gigging, being a singer-songwriter, what was that like?
Yeah, it was actually really fun. I wouldn't swap that time I had for anything. Like I auditioned for a few things around that time as well, like pop stars and different things like that. Got down to the last few, but I wasn't ready at all. Like I think I was 19 when I auditioned for that, um, and then I just, you know, I went down the singer-songwriter path and used to gig in pubs and clubs and restaurants and anywhere really, in corporate bands, jazz clubs, everything. Got to know a lot of musicians around Ireland, and so I'd be gigging maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. Very often I bought my own PA system, so I'd set that up, and then I just sit down with the guitar maybe and play for 2 hours. Usually covers, you know, because people are coming in and they just want to have a few drinks, and like, you know, and then we some rowdy nights where you just have all like, you be strumming and everyone dancing all around the place. Then you go into some other quiet restaurants where you're just singing and kind of crooning to them, you know. So it was like a bit varied, great experience. So I loved it, you know, and I had a CD of my own original songs that I would sell at the end of a gig, for €5. And then I entered a couple of national song contests, and I won the Glyn Song Contest a couple of times. I went on to do the Eurovision backing vocalist for Ireland, Brian Kennedy, in 2006. So there was loads of like nice fun things happening, but it kind of like I didn't really know where it was going, and I just was so dying for this break to happen, because I was like, I'm doing it a few years now, and it's like, where am I going with this? It's not really a career like singing in pubs, you know.
And so obviously 2007 you get the audition for the Saturdays. Now tell me all about that, because you know, we've heard in the past really famous stories of like the Spice Girls finding the advert in the stage, and obviously we saw Girls Aloud being formed on screen. What was it like for the Saturdays?
All of us were sort of found our way into the Saturdays in different ways, but my story was the literally like a bit like the Spice Girls, just seeing an ad. I just googled auditions in London. I literally did that, and that's the truth. And then it came up, and I think it might have been the stage or one of them kind of talent, you know, looking for talent.
Oh yes, I love this.
Yeah, and I think it might have been another one though. It wasn't the stage, or maybe it was. And I just like saw it said, looking for female singer. Now there was about 1 million ads, but this one stood out to me because it said major label, you know. So I was like, oh, because like there's always chancellors out there putting bands together.
Yeah.
I was in a couple of dodgy bands myself in the past that didn't go anywhere, that I thought were meant to be the next big thing. So you know, so I was like, oh, I said, and you know what? I was like, I don't care if I don't get this, something else will happen. I was feeling quite positive actually, and I just saw the audition looking for female vocalists. And I was actually 25 at the time, and it said age between 18 and 28. Quite a broad, you know, age range there. But I was isn't that lovely now? They're not being ageist here. And it just says, you know, we're looking for girls that would sing. I think they mentioned something about dancing. I was like, oh, because, you know, I wasn't from a dancing background. I just normally be sitting on a stool playing a guitar. So although I do love to dance, you know, but it wouldn't have been, you know, my biggest strength at the time, but I learned. And I auditioned and kept getting the callbacks. They kept whittled them down, flying over and back, and it was turning out to be very expensive, because I was obviously funding it myself, and I was paying for these flights over and back, putting myself up in hotels and all that. So got down to the last 7, I remember, and I just thought, oh, imagine now not getting into it at this point. But luckily I did.
But that's amazing, because I always think when you have an audition process, you know you've earned your right to be there. You know that actually you can feel confident in the fact that I deserve to be here. I put the work in, you know, and I've claimed my place.
And I remember when I turned up actually at the very first audition, which was just, I sang a cappella. I sang Black Horse and a Cherry Tree, and I just remember like stomping the foot and going, you know, and I giving the beat, getting the beat, woohoo. I didn't have like the loop station, but like I was like making my own one. I'd say they were looking at me going, what is she at? I remember at the time it was just the A&R and the manager at the time. It was just the two of them. And it was in a bar in London called The Spice of Life. And Molly was the only person I saw at that audition. I didn't speak to her, but I just saw her in the distance. So when I saw her again, I remembered her. Oh, that's that girl with the long blonde hair that looks like Sienna Miller. That's so I thought.
Yeah.
Such a resemblance to Sienna Miller. I almost had her mistaken for her, you know. But like I came that day I had my CD. I had loads of photographs all printed off. I had a big bio printed off. I had my link to my MySpace. I've been working hard on the MySpace. So MySpace was one of the early days of social media. And I had a music MySpace page. And I always would put the tracks up. So I had built up like a good CV, I guess. And I brought that with me. And I went in with the attitude, you know, if this doesn't happen, there'll be something else.
Because as you said then as well, and I'd mentioned it in my notes, kind of 25 at that point, I mean, it feels so ridiculous now, but you and I are the same age, so we will have come up against the same things. 25 was kind of, oh, you're erring on the slightly older side to be going into pop. That's kind of how I know that I was made to feel at that time. And so for you, as you said then, oh, it's really good that they weren't being ageist and they were being a little bit more open. You know, had you come up against that before?
No, it was actually only because when I saw the age 18 to 28, I was like, well, I'm still, you know, within that bracket. And I think there was a good mix at the auditions as well. There was definitely a few my age too that we were like, because we were 25. Oh, there was a 23-year-old there, and she was like, I'm 23, and she was like almost mortified that she was 23. And I looked at her, and then me and another girl actually looked at each other and went, I said, how old are you? And she was like 25. I said, me too. You know, like we're like, but they looked so young. I was like, it doesn't really matter. Everyone all kind of looked the same age, you know. It doesn't matter. It's age is only a number. But yeah, I thought that was great that they didn't cut it off, because it could be so cutthroat like that. Can you imagine like going for the audition and it's like, sorry, it's for 18 to 24s, you know, like how horrible would that be, you know?
And that's what I mean is kind of in the previous kind of like girl band phase, shall we say, or pop star phase even.
It would have probably
it would have been been an issue, you know. It was all kind of like the Britney Spears and Christina and Rihanna, all that young kind of get them at 16 and once they're past 20 odd, that's it, they're done, which is so mental and so ridiculous. And especially when you consider the music industry now and you're looking at people like J-Lo, you know, just
it's very different now.
Incredible.
I think it's that ageism has gone out the window, which I'm delighted to see. There's not so much a pressure that you have to achieve so much in such a young age. I think it's maybe too much pressure on a young person to expect so much of them so young. And they think people get their breaks at different times and different ages and in different ways. So you can never, like, there shouldn't be an age put on it. And it's all the experience that you have until then too. So I felt like I had gained a lot of experience. So with that, you know, I had that going with me too, that I wouldn't have had when I was younger, like when I was 19, because I grew up in a small town here that I didn't go to a stage school, and I only had the experience of gigging in pubs and all that sort of thing. So it was a little bit different.
And so was the dynamic slightly different then? Because obviously, like with, you know, Frankie and Rochelle, they'd come from S Club Juniors and they'd kind of gone a different route to probably like you and perhaps the other girls. You know, what was the dynamic like when you finally got together?
See, they had all that experience of that. So we all brought our own experience to the group. You know, everyone had their own journeys as far as we got. But once we got there together and we're in this group, it was a whole new one. It was a clean slate again, because even the girls would say like, oh, remember we used to do whatever TVs they used to do that they were different. It was like a whole new era, really. So it's just like starting fresh again. But they had the experience. So I guess that stood to us as a group as well, because they had that. Vanessa went to Sylvia Young. Yeah. And Molly was in a girl band, actually. I believe she was actually poached from that girl band.
I think I remember reading that at the time. Yeah, actually. Yeah. And also in terms of, you know, like as you said, you come from a singer-songwriter background, which was that part of being in the band was really important to you, wasn't it? Especially in the early days. There were some of your original songs that you've written that actually got turned into B-sides.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, How to It Today was one of my songs. That was on that CD. It was on the CD that I used to sell at the gigs. So we recorded as a group as well. And I wrote quite a bit with the girls as well for the album tracks and B-sides. And we just were like, it was single after single after single after single. We were on the road promoting that. There wasn't a lot of time for creativity and going in and writing, because I do love the songwriting process, but you need time, you know. So there wasn't enough of that, I think, really, but it didn't matter because we're just having the best time ever, you know. I wouldn't swap that time that I had. It was 6 years of being in the group, and it was such amazing. I loved every minute of it, you know. I really did, and I just appreciate so much the opportunities that it has given me over the years as well. And I feel really lucky, you know. And I know that, and I remember even in learning one of the first routines, like it was quite a tricky one up, you know. It was like,
Yeah.
and I remember the girl actually that was teaching us the routine. Just remember we were all a bit like tired one evening, and we are just like, oh, I just don't have to, oh, do we have to do it again or whatever. Anyway, she just said something, and you know, when someone says something that sticks with you for a while, she was like, do you realize the queues that would go out that door now if they knew that there was a girl group in here and they could swap a place with you? And I was like, yeah, she's so right. Like, and I always knew that. I always knew that as well, that there is so many girls out there that would do anything to be in my position. So I appreciated it, and still do.
And in terms of, you know, Frankie personally, she's been extremely open about the things that she struggled with during the band. And I suppose, you know, even I watched the Caroline Flack documentary not long ago, and I think this, when she talked about being wired for a certain industry, because it can be very negative, you know. And you girls were in the first real flurry of social media and kind of that time of life. You know, Jessie Nelson just recently stepped away from Little Mix. Would you think, like, for her that was a really sensible decision? Like, if you're not coping very well, actually it's probably best to step away, just because it can be very difficult.
The Little Mix have had such huge success, and they've been together like a long time. They're together now longer than we were together, you know. And she should be so proud of everything that they've achieved as a group. And she wants time out for herself and to concentrate on herself. That's obviously the ultimate most important thing, is to look after yourself and however you're feeling. I don't know Jessie at all, but I know if as long as she's happy, isn't that the most important thing? Don't ever keep yourself or do anything that's making you unhappy, you know.
Absolutely.
It's for everyone. Like, personally, I don't know what people go through as well in their lives, but you just have to look after yourself, you know. You really do.
And like I was just saying there, you know, social media can be it can be such a scary place. You know, it can be an amazing place, but it can be really scary as well. And it's kind of, you know, trying to tread that line sometimes.
Worse now as well, like, because when we were starting out, there was Twitter. You see, it was all Twitter, because I went from being my MySpace, I loved MySpace, and then that went away. And then there was Twitter, and then Instagram, kind of like, yeah, we were there for the beginning of Instagram, I'd say. But it's all just so fake, you know. And everything now is just this whole facade that people are putting on, that everything is rosy in the garden when you don't know what's going on. And it's nice to highlight all the special moments, but, you know, the reality of it isn't. And that's why a lot of people are kind of joking and poking fun in it now. Instagram versus reality. And I think there's a lot more of that as well, which is good. I think people can... You can see when something is photoshopped to death, and you kind of nearly laugh at it yourself, or you know, we're all kind of guilty of going, you know, I'm not putting that horrible one up. You go through about a million pictures till you get the one that you're happy with, you know, and you have that option. Whereas back in the day for us, there wasn't that. There was the PAPs, you know, which there's now people, because they don't have a job now, because people are putting up their own pictures, and the media don't have to pay for them because they're already out there in the social, like they're public property. Whereas back then there wasn't that as much, and we weren't revealing very much about ourselves. So they used to follow us around, and stalk us outside our house, to have them down, especially when I had the kids and stuff. They'd wait down the end of the road just to get a glimpse of you with your new child, or and on holidays. They got pictures of me, like, unfortunately, had no top on in a few of them, and it was all over the papers and horrible, like. And then they used to get the cameras and stick them under your skirt, like getting into a car. So this is the kind of stuff we dealt with, you know. I don't know which is worse, to be honest, you know. I'd had a few trolls on Twitter back in the day, but what I always did with them, like, it would upset me sometimes, is say things and it would stick with you, even though, like, you're getting all these hundreds of lovely messages, maybe like 5% of them are horrible. Like for some reason, you just focus on this negative, which you shouldn't. So what I decided to do is I just block, block, block. That's why the block button is there. Just block them, you know. And I used to block one of this person who used to keep hounding me all the time, and I block, 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 and they come back going, ha ha, I'm back, and you're like, oh, just the same name, but with like an
but with a slightly different thing on, and you're like, go away.
Yeah, and you was the same one. I was like, you loser, what are you doing? I just block, 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 and they gave up eventually. But yeah, I found that it's tough, and they'd be going into a club. Remember, like that whole coming out, and you might be blinking, and they'd be like, "Oh, you were, wasted coming out of the club." But there'd be about 50 of them in front of you, and it's just flash, and you're trying, and you're just trying to find where you're going. Like,
yeah, me and my husband were coming out of an event, and the guy was clicking under my skirt and trying to, and so we got into this, like the big almost people carrier type taxis, and he slid the door open and was flashing, and the taxi driver set off, and my husband turned around and went, "What are you doing?" for his own safety. But the picture, when we eventually saw it online, made James, my husband, look so aggressive and so horrible, and that's absolutely not what was happening.
Situation. Yeah, I know, and that's it. And they love that as well. And do you ever remember they used to do this thing where they'd want a reaction as well, and they'd say grunt like horrible sounds or noises or say things to provoke you so that you'd give a scowl or something. It's like they just want that picture, for the front where it's like, Una tortured. And it's like, that face or shame. And it's like, they just want that horrible picture. Another one as well, I was like on stage, I remember doing a gig, and whatever way the lighting was just horrendous, and everyone has a little bit of cellulite. Oh, they zoomed in on that cellulite, they were loving it, and then that was all. At the time those magazines used to like have like a shame corner where they'd be like circling around it. I remember like it was, and then a circle around zoomed in on the cellulite.
Bodies of shame and things like that. And I mean, this is the era that both you and I kind of came through in, and we've seen recently like the Britney Spears documentary, and we've seen all these, like the backlash now of what actually that decade or those decades did to certain people, how it actually affected them. And it was really wrong. And as you said earlier, things are changing, things are moving, and we're not seeing so much of that now. We're seeing more body positivity, which is amazing, and we're seeing more people of different ages and different diversities out there in the media, and it does seem like a much better place to be, don't you think?
It definitely does, yeah. And I think it's nice to celebrate that and acknowledge it, because there's a lot about, well, it must be so tough now with social media and everything. No, it's definitely a lot of amazing changes have happened over the last few years for the better, and that kind of thing it wouldn't be accepted now, and it shouldn't be, and it should never have been. But it just took time for it to be highlighted and stopped. So.
And in terms of like you said, social media then with your kids, do you worry about them, especially with Aoife? Do you worry kind of with the whole social media side of things? Or because every kid wants to be a YouTuber now, don't they? Which is basically the version of what we did. So, my Freddie does. But do you ever worry about the slightly darker side of it with the kids?
Oh, I have to keep an eye on her, because she's just knows so much about how to use a phone and how to type. Like I saw her on a laptop, and she's only just turned 9, and she's like, I'd say she can do like 70, 80 words a minute. She's just like tick, 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 tick. And I remember because I actually did a secretarial course when I left school.
Anything else?
That's another thing. I forgot about that old chestnut. Yeah. So I remember learning the keyboard ASDF::LKJ, and then having to like learn and watch this big poster of where to put your fingers. Or it's just their screens are everywhere now, and they use them for school, they use them for everything. So but I have to keep an eye on it. Like I've got all the restrictions set up, but for some reason she knows how to turn them off as well. So I've a couple of times had to take the phone off her and go away for a bit and look through it. And she has like a TikTok that I say you can't go public on, and then the odd time she'd flick it so that she's public so that she can get followers. And I like have to watch all that. It's really stressful, because and then I don't want to be given out to her, but I have to warn her of the dangers, and she understands now. But there's been a few scary moments where a little bit scared of what she might be looking at and that. So. And
it's hard, isn't it? Because we're the same with Fred, and he's going on and on about, I kind of started a bit of a YouTube channel with him, but I've got it on private. And I was like, you know, if you want to kind of practice, that's fine. And then when you get a bit older, then we can make it public. But he's the same. They're so secretive. Or he'll flick it and I'll be like, excuse me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It's so hard, isn't it? And they can access everything that we couldn't access. And I think with the lockdown, that's only kind of made it a bit worse, because for a lot of kids, it's been the only way they can communicate with their friends, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like they know way more than we ever knew. Like they're not naive at all about stuff, you know, because all they have to do now is Google it. Like if they're curious about anything, it's just put it into Google, and I think they know too much. It's kind of sad, but that's just how it is now, you know.
And as you mentioned earlier, you know, you are a single parent now, and you know you've come from you separated from your husband a good while back now. But you know that period in your life of kind of reinvention and reinventing a life that you know, and that time, how was that for you? Kind of, you know, that transition, because I expect it would be similar as well when you had to kind of take a hiatus from the band, in the sense that having to reinvent your life again into a different way. How has that been for you? And you know, what things have you looked back on or taken that have helped you kind of maneuver your life into a different area?
I suppose it's kind of like you know, it happens in different stages of your life. You go from primary school to secondary school. That's a huge change. You know, that's kind of the first big change you remember in life. And then finishing school to go on to do whatever you're doing, and, you know, changing your groups of, you know, you'll keep your certain friends that will be there for life, but you'll meet new people, and it's just different chapters, you know, different chapters of your life. It's just another, it was like a long chapter, or maybe it was a series of chapters that I've been through, but I'm very fortunate now that I feel like I'm in a new chapter from that, like almost like a new series rather than episode, if you know what I mean. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. You know, it's like you know, you have to go through that series, that particular series of episodes. And now I'm lucky that I feel I can say now I'm feeling really happy at the minute and in a really good place. And it's just life, and life will always throw, you know, there'll be a spanner in the works here and there. And you just don't know what's around the corner. And, you know, you could go through, people say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think it's like it's a ridiculous question, because nobody knows where they're going to be. And very often you'll go 5 years and very little will change. And in overnight, your whole world could turn upside down, you know? So you just have to be prepared for that. But just all you can do is just take one day at a time, you know.
Because like I said, there'll be lots of people now that are out there, you know, and the pandemic will have dramatically changed their lives. They would have just been like turned upside down. What anchors would you say, or what things have helped you, like you say, you know, come to this point where you are now, where you do feel happy? Is it, you know, self-care? Is it, what are the things that have been your go-to to kind of help you get to this phase?
Definitely talking and opening up and just chatting and, you know, getting it all off your chest, and just communicating is really important, and not to like bottle things up. You know, your network of friends are so important. Your real friends will always be there for you, and your family. And that's just really like all we can do, you know. Just, we all have a great support network of people around us, and just you know, look for that help too. And wherever you need it, there's resources out there as well to help. And you know, just know you're not alone. There's people go through, you don't know what's going on in people's homes and everything, but you know, life isn't easy for everyone, you know, and there's challenges along the way, and I'm sure I'll come across lots more now that I've got kids, especially. I'm going to be faced with them as well. It's not just, you know, it's no place to be selfish now. I'm like, these two little children are dependent on me, so kind of stay strong for them too. They gave me strength as well, knowing because I have to be there for them. I couldn't just put them aside and walk away from them. They're my priority. So just focusing on them, I think, for me was a huge help.
You're moving into the next decade now, and the next phase of your life, which, you know, you will, like me, turn 40 this year. And, you know, how does that feel?
When are you 40?
Literally 2 weeks after you.
Oh, really? Oh my God, because we're exactly the same age. So
yes, exactly. So I'm kind of like, I know I've got my feelings about it, but I was just inquisitive to know kind of, because even when I was like
I don't
looking,
really think about it. Yeah, I actually don't. And I even when you said it, I was like, am I?
You see,
Yeah,
I think, I don't know, maybe it's like that I've been conditioned to thinking like, oh God, like everybody asks me, like, oh, you're turning 40, what are you doing for your 40th,
yeah.
40,
Oh, I'm
40?
not
I'm
doing
like, oh my
anything.
God. Like, so I just wondered kind of what your take on it was.
I remember like being 25 and then my 20, I was scared of my 26th birthday going, oh my God, I'm so old, you know. Whereas now I don't feel like that. I don't know what it is. I just think it's great. It's a celebration to still be around. We're so lucky, like so many people in life don't get this far. And I'm so grateful to have had these years and I still look forward to it. And I feel great actually. I feel really, um, feel strong and healthy. And I think I definitely concentrate more on my health and my and fitness and all that more than I would have in the past. Like, as I understand, like, you know, as we get older, we have to look after ourselves more. So I kind of make a conscious effort a bit more in that department. So, but I just it's great to feel, yeah, to feel happy with it and content with it. And yeah, it doesn't scare me at all, really. No.
I don't feel scared of it. I feel really excited about it. I keep saying to people, you know, like, I think I'll be a bit more mouthy. I'll be a bit more liberated with what I
Yeah.
say to people as I get into my 40s, probably because I've been a bit of a people pleaser when I was younger. You know, if you were going to pass on some words of wisdom now to, like, at your age now, to your younger self, like, what would be some of the things that you might say to younger Una?
Oh, because I would be a worrier, you know. So, and I don't know if that will ever go away. I'm probably one of them real old ones in a nursing home somewhere, still worrying about everything, you know. So, so I don't know. Like, yeah, I would say don't be worrying, but I keep having to tell myself that every day, you know. So because I care so much, you know, like I really do. I care about everything so much, and but yeah, I don't really know. I think just do your best, carry on, and um yeah, it's hard really to like just it's all you can do, isn't it? Yeah.
And so, if we come back to music, you know, like now, where you're at now with your personal style, your music, you're out there. You've had your last album, The Waiting Game. You've got a brand new single out now, and again, it's very much of the country flavour. And is that where you're happiest? Is that kind of where musically, you know, that's where you feel most at home?
Yeah, so it's a singer-songwriter song, you know, because an original song that I co-wrote with a girl called Rachel Ferner, and it was like the whole production and melody and everything was in my head before we went in to write together, and I just like I started just picking up the guitar, I started playing the melody idea, and then Rachel, she's great on the piano, so we demoed it that day, wrote it together lyrically, and finished the song, and she demoed it on the piano, and then I still had the production in my head of it being a more rocky kind of
Yeah.
country rock song. So then I'm friends with Fred Abbott, who I worked with before, and he used to be in Noah and the Whale. He was their guitarist, so he's a great producer, and I did my last single with him as well. And I just kind of explained to him how I heard it, and he made it come to life. So it's exactly the way it was. Like I literally was going around one day with this song in my head, and now it's out there. Like it's like inventing something. It's a great feeling, and you can't help it. It just comes. It's like inspiration. It just comes into your head. And then I've written songs before though that like I just was in a writing session and we'd be back and forth with ideas or just picking up the guitar and just like humming a melody and you'd be like, oh, I love that. What's that? And then play that again, kind of thing. But this was actually something that I had going around in my head for a while. But it does have a country element to it. But every song I write is just a song that's about stuff that's going on in my life that I can feel almost like a bit therapeutic writing it and getting it out there and hoping that other people will relate to it too. So it's not too personal because I don't like when anything is like so personal that you're going, no, the people won't get that. I love when people say, I love your songs, they help me, or I find that this song is very much relatable to my situation and that, you know.
And in terms of that genre, you know, are there any people that have really inspired you, or like who would you look to for that are your icons or inspiration?
Sheryl Crow is like my ultimate one, you know. So I remember
Yeah,
being 12, like watching her on The Big Breakfast. You probably remember that too. Do you remember?
yeah.
And then she was like, they played a clip of the video, and she was like, "All I wanna do," and I was like thinking, "Oh, I just like want to be like that one day." And you know, I followed her career and was so lucky to get to see her in Glastonbury last summer. Or I keep saying last summer. It was going to be 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, and I just thought, yeah, I loved it. I loved the longevity of her career as well because she's still like, you know, doing a big gig in Glastonbury now, and she still looks amazing. So, but yeah, like she's a fantastic inspiration of mine. But also like I loved all that sort of the 90s like Shania Twain, Garth Brooks, Faith Hill, Trisha Yearwood and Leanne Rhymes. You know, I
Yeah.
all that. And then I appreciate all the genres of music really, but then I love people like the singer-songwriters like Damien Rice, and he would have inspired me too. Katie Tunstall, when I started kind of going on my own, doing the singer-songwriter route. Jewel, I loved her as well. I remember Jewel.
Oh, Jewel's amazing, so amazing.
So they were like my inspirations growing up, and when I started out. And I still feel inspired by our artists, even new and upcoming ones too. Like I love to listen to hear what's original there. What are they doing? I think you have to keep a certain amount of originality, or you're not going to be any different. You don't want to be a copycat. Like you can get inspiration, but you don't want to copy. Like there has to be something in there that's like every time you turn on a song, you know who it is.
And that just quickly brings me to, before we kind of finish up, is like obviously you've judged on The Voice Island. Now obviously so much of that is based on the voice and the talent, and as you say, being recognizable. How was that for you as a job? And did you love that part of it, in the sense that it was just based on the voice and the talent, as opposed to what the whole final look was?
Oh, it's the first thing you hear. Like you get to know the contestants and you work with them, and there's all the other elements are brought into it after that. But it's lovely to think that all your senses are just going into listening to that voice. I remember I was so lucky with Patrick Donahue was on my team. He actually walked out on stage first in the audition process, and I remember it was my first year of doing it, because I did it for 2 years. And my chair, I was mad to press that red button. So I was like, I'm probably going to press it no matter who comes on stage. But his voice, I was like, where is this voice coming from? And it was unreal. Everyone turned for him. And then I got him when he was on my team, and he went on to win it as well. So I was very, very lucky, and worked really well with him. We're still good friends, and it's just nice to kind of to be the other side, because I audition too, and I know when I can empathize with the contestants, and how tough it is walking out on that stage. And because when you're auditioning, it's like you're being tested, and it's like you feel so vulnerable. It's not like a performance. It's not like going out there like doing a gig where people are coming to see you, or you're just doing it because you enjoy it. It's pure fear. I always felt in an auditions situation. I hate auditioning. Never liked it.
It's horrible, because as you say, it's like you haven't got the job yet. And what the difference is, when you're a performer and you're out there in your own right, people have come to see you, so it's going to be fine. And you're still kind of going, pick me. It's really hard.
It's really tough, and this is why it is so hard for anyone starting out or breaking into it. Like it's a really tough old road, trying to prove yourself or get your break. It's just it's really hard. Like looking back, it's just like that fear all the time when you're going, oh, better do this, and then you're like, going, oh, I could have done that better, or I should have done this, and should have. So it's a tough old one, but doing it like that, I really had that in mind as well when I was a mentor on The Voice, to know, like, I wouldn't go harsh on any of the contestants, because I knew also as well how nervous they were, and how much it would mean to them and everything like that. So I wasn't mean.
And even though like now you present country hits on the radio on breakfast on Saturdays, and there's music, what else is there for you? And shoes that we haven't even got a chance to talk about yet, which were like amazing. But in fact, let's talk shoes quickly. Is that where did that start? Like, of all the things that you could have designed, why shoes?
Well, I work with a team of people, so it's not like as if I'm just in there in the workshop designing it myself. It's a collective collaboration with amazing designers and people that, like, she was my uncle Declan, the singer. His partner Elizabeth has a shoe shop in Monaghan called Shoe Sisters, and they stock a few different ranges, and a few Irish celebrities have a range, and they got in touch with the people that do those. So they were like, would you like a meeting with Una? Because like I just love fashion and shoes, and I met with the people, and we just chatted about it, and it released the first round. And now we're like 3 years on, and we're bringing out the spring, summer, and actually around now they're hitting the shops. Hopefully when they open, but they're online. It's Una Healy Original Collection. You can get them online. We ship all over the world, but they're just they're affordable. They're lovely shoes that there's all sorts in there. There's high heels, low heels, flats, trainers, boots, everything. I just love shoes. So yeah, it's really
I think all girls love shoes. And I was just going to say, what is it? Just the fact that some people say it's the way you walk, or a shoe can actually bloody change your life, in the sense that it changes your posture, it changes who you are. Is that kind of the same for you?
Yeah, you've got like in the tagline in the shoe, it says "rock it," like you rock it.
Yeah,
strut your. I was going to be strut your stuff, and they were like, well, you can't put that in there. I was like, oh God, I like that.
I like that.
yeah, but rock it is probably like, it's like nice kind of ties in with the music as well, I guess. And you just rock them shoes, and yeah, I've had a few like nights out where I'd be out and girls that like just literally put their foot up on the table and be like, "Oh, I'm wearing your shoes," and I'm like, "Yay!"
Oh, that must be so ace, though. I mean, like that you go, "Oh my God, yeah, that's my shoe." And
but yeah, hopefully we'll find the occasions to wear them, because there's quite a few glamorous ones, in the collection that, just hoping now that we find the occasions to wear them to, where we can actually get out there a bit more. Like that. Unfortunately, fashion has suffered quite a lot during this time. We're all guilty of it. Like I'm sitting here chatting to you with a fancy blouse on and wearing tracksuit bottoms.
Zoom ready. We're always Zoom ready.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, exactly. It doesn't. I'm fed up with that though. I want to be head to toe
glamour,
all the glam. Yeah.
And so just before we do finish, Una, you're like, as you said, you kind of don't think too far ahead, take it one step at a time. But I don't even feel like I can ask you this now. I was going to say, what would you like to do next? What would you be your thing that you think, I haven't done that yet?
I don't know, actually. Because I have to prepare myself for my kids getting older. I think that's probably one of the biggest kind of fears for me, is that when like my Eve is now 9, to think of her then going through those years and becoming a teenager and all that. Only because I remember myself as one. That's kind of scares me a bit. Like, but I'm sure I'll be fine. It's like when people before they have their first baby, they're like, "What am I going to do?" I'm now thinking of the teens. That's going to be my biggest challenge, I think. But they're good kids, so I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm looking forward to just seeing what they're up to and what they're doing, and hearing all the little gossip from their friends. And I've it all ahead of me. Lots come. Knows, but yeah, who knows? Anyway, we can only, with this pandemic as well, we just don't know what's around the corner. But I'll continue to write songs. That's my main passion in life, is just to release music, and it just makes me happy. So I'll always continue to do that. And and my.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to have you with me. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to have your time, and we wish you so much luck with all of your music, and also your single "Swear It All Again" is available to download now, so go out there and find it, guys. I mean, if you want to let us know exactly where we can get it, Una.
Oh yeah, well you can stream it on all platforms. It's just you can find my Una Healy is just the name, UnaHealy. You'll find it there. Yeah.
And you can also catch it with Una every Saturday morning at Country Hits Radio, where she'll be ready to help you kick off your weekend in country style. If you'd like more well-being, fashion and beauty, then you can always visit us at our website, www.thecapsule.co.uk, where you can also catch up with our previous podcast episodes by visiting the In Conversation page and subscribing to any of our podcast channels and YouTube. Do leave us your rates and reviews. As always, we love hearing your feedback. It's always lovely to see your comments, and if you're a social butterfly, you can also catch us on Instagram and Facebook at Official Capsule. I will be back next week with another very special guest, so all that's left for me to say today is have a gorgeous rest of the Easter break, and goodbye. So it's goodbye from Una.
Bye everyone.
And goodbye from me. This episode of The Capsule in Conversation was brought to you by Harrogate Spring Water. Bottled at source, Harrogate Spring offers a pure, refreshing taste with a delicate blend of naturally occurring minerals and electrolytes, perfect for healthy hydration.